So today we're going to cut this sorghum Sudan grass. I planted this 2.5, 3 months ago, and we're going to try to bale it up into silage bales. This will be the first time that I've ever attempted to do this. So I'm sure that it'll be a little bit of trial and error, but let's go ahead and get to work. So I only mowed 3 strips in the sorghum Sudan grass. I want to test this out tomorrow and see how it goes. I'd hate to mow it all down and mess it all up. So this stuff is really wet stuff. Just picking it up off of the mower and throwing it back on the windrow got my gloves soaking wet. So very wet stuff. I know if you're trying to make like alfalfa or something and cut it and turn that into silage, you only wait like a matter of hours. But everybody I've seen do this, the stalks are so thick that they wait till the next day to bale it up. And that's what I'm gonna do, is I'm just gonna let this sit overnight. We'll come back in the morning. We'll try to identify best we can what we think the moisture content is. And when we think it's around 50%, we'll go ahead and bale it up and see how the whole process goes. Now, obviously, the mower over here definitely has a few things that need to be fixed. I don't know if we'll get to it in this video. We're definitely gonna have to make a new deflector to go on this side so it stops shooting it on top of the mower. In fact, I've seen some pieces shoot all the way across behind the tractor. So that needs fixed. The other problem is I get a bunch on top of these windrow deflectors that we made. So I'm gonna have to put another piece of sheet metal up inside of there to try to prevent that from happening. So I'll have to figure out exactly how I wanna do that, whether I wanna put it on the deflectors or whether I just wanna try to mount it to the underside of this cover. But I'm gonna have to try to put something in there to just keep that from happening. So definitely needs a few improvements if I'm gonna cut this big 6 foot tall sorghum Sudan grass like this. So it's the next day now. It's 8:20 in the morning. I came out here to check this and it is completely covered in dew, so it's very wet right now. But I still want to go ahead and just do a moisture test and see roughly where it is, or at least kind of get the principles down in doing this, because we're going to do something different. We're going to do what they call a microwave test. So we're going to take this paper bag here and we are going to put 100 grams of this sorghum Sudan grass inside of here. And then we're gonna take it inside, we're gonna microwave it, and we're gonna continue to microwave it until it doesn't lose any more weight. We're just gonna keep weighing it. And when it stops losing weight, we know it's completely dry. And whatever The weight is in grams, so it was 100 grams, and say when you're done drying it's 50 grams. That means it's 50% dry matter, it was 50% moisture. It's kind of an easy way to do it when you work with even 100s. So let's go ahead and gather some up and hope that this doesn't stink up the house when I start putting it through the microwave. Let's wad some of this up, put it in the bag, we'll see what it weighs. Well, that handful was too much because that's about 140 grams. So we'll take a little bit out. All right, it's hard to get exactly 100. We're sitting right there, 102. So now that we're inside, it weighs around 94. So we'll go with that. They say to do 4 minutes and then 1 minute every time after. Well, it's already, you probably won't be able to read it. It's already down to 34 grams. So still at least 65% moisture. Still a little bit of steam coming out. So now we're down to 29 grams. We only lost like 5 grams that time, so not much. It's probably close. And again, we're right about the same measurement, right around 30 grams. So if we started with an even 100 grams, that would mean we have 30% dry matter, 70% moisture. So it's still a little bit wet. I think we'll wait an hour and we'll try again. So it does smell kind of like a burnt paper bag, burnt grass. I don't know. It kind of does have a weird smell in the house, especially when you leave and you come back. So I think I'm just gonna turn off the air conditioner. I'm gonna open up all the windows and air out the house. It's only like a high of around 75 today. So it's like a nice cool day anyway. So good day to open the house back up. But yes, microwaving that did end up kind of stinking the house up. So after I got the baler hooked up, I went ahead, I took another moisture test out there. Came out almost exactly the same, like 70% moisture. So I got a feeling it's gonna be, instead of like 1 hour, it's gonna be several hours before it's down to where I want it to be. So I just want to say, with the microwave moisture test, you do have to be careful and go slow, because if you dry it too much or go too long, it will start to catch fire. I had one of my tests turn black and smoke. So it didn't catch fire, but it was really close. Well, it's 1 in the afternoon now, and I just did another moisture test. I've done like 4 or 5 today, and it just hit around 60% moisture. And I think I'm just gonna go ahead and go for it. I cut this late, like around 4 in the evening last night, because I was afraid it would dry out too quick. That's obviously not the case. This is pretty wet stuff, and it does take a while for it to get down to the right moisture level. So as we try to bale this up today, we're gonna be making smaller round bales, and that's for 2 main reasons. One's gonna be the weight, the high moisture content. These bales could weigh 3 times as much as what a dry bale the same size would weigh. So it's just a lot harder on the machine. That's a lot harder to just pick up and move around. And the other reason is we want a bale size that when we open it up and we feed it to the animals, we want them to be able to finish it in 2 or 3 days. If they don't get it all ate 2 or 3 days, that silage could possibly start to go bad. So we want the portion size correct, and that's another reason we're going to make those smaller bales. So I think we're going to try to make some 3-foot bales and some 3.5-foot bales, and just see what happens when we wrap them and see what works. But that's what we're going to try to do. All right, I've probably done about 100 feet so far. I decided to stop and get out, and it's amazing, or at least it's amazing me, it's actually picking up everything. You can see, like, it picked up the whole row. I really thought we'd be leaving a bunch behind, and it's like picking up way better than I thought. It did start to form a roll. It's probably got close to a 2-foot diameter in there already. With these smaller bales, I got a feeling we're gonna be spitting out several of them. Now that's a small bale right there. That's crazy. Boy, it does feel moist. Oh, that is gonna be heavy. That's as heavy as one of the 4x5 bales for sure. So the only problem I had with this first bale is it didn't want to pull the twine into the bale to wrap it. It was only able to get one piece of twine, not both pieces of twine. So it's only got half of the wraps on here holding that together. So hopefully it stays together and hopefully it doesn't continue. But let's keep going. Well, they are wanting to hang up in here. I tried something different and that one made it worse. Just the way you get crushed. Even wet bales like to stick. And this is a really wet bale. I really just want to like back up real quick and like slam on the brakes. Well, these 3-foot diameter bales definitely do not want to come out of the back of the baler. I don't know if it has to do with the diameter or just because they're wet and sticking to the baler a little bit, or both. But I'm going to go ahead, we're going to go up to 3.5-foot diameter, see if it does any better. Well, I jammed the pickup full. So to unclog this, there is a trick. This will come out. And then I can pull that clog out of it. Probably the worst clog I think I've ever had on this machine. A minute ago, I got it wrapped around the wheel and it bunched way up, and I think that was more to do with the way I was backing it up earlier to try to get the bale to fall out. Luckily, this last 3.5-foot bale, I was able to get it out without having to do the backup move. But man, I screwed this up. So far, my silage experiment is not really going as planned. This may prove to be not worth the effort. But I just hated for all this to go to waste. There also is a special wrench inside of here, I believe, that you can put on here and rotate this backwards if you need to try to get it out. I've never had to do that. This may be the time. I may go ahead and just kick it on and see what happens. Well, that may help some. All right, I got out the special wrench. Try to rotate this backwards. Get the wad of hay out of it. Never had to do this. PTO back up. Take the wrench off. Let's try it again. All right, it's clear under here now. Thank goodness, that was the worst clog I've ever had. Well, I've only had probably 3, counting this one. So I'm gonna continue on, but I am like this close to saying just forget silage bales. Because there's definitely a learning curve. I'm gonna have to bale slower and keep a closer eye on this. Oh, of course, now I gotta get this back in. All right, I think, close this door, we're all back together. Close that cover. Now we're all back together. All right, I just finished baling these first 3 rows. I got 7 bales. I did leave quite a bit here that I didn't get, and I left some at the very end, so there's probably enough for 8 bales in this area, but I think I'm done baling today. I just want to go ahead and get these picked up, see if I can carry them and take them over and get them wrapped, because wrapping them is what's going to turn these into silage. All right, this is a 3-foot diameter bale. Let's see what happens. That don't seem bad. Seems all right. So this one's a 3.5-foot diameter bale. Well, I can definitely tell we're light on the back end with this 3.5-foot bale. I just got the 5-foot brush hog on here. I may be better if we had something with a little bit more weight. So I had someone in the comments ask me to explain what silage was. So here's a very basic explanation. So you can take a forage like this that is got a very high moisture content, and you need to put it in an oxygen-free environment. And that's what the bale wrapper is gonna do. We're gonna wrap this bale up, and while this is in that low oxygen environment, it will ferment. So it's a fermentation process that this is gonna go through, and it's going to change the feed quality. It's actually going to increase the feed quality of this bale. And it's a way to be able to store forage that doesn't dry well for hay. So if it's something you typically can't turn into hay, you might be able to turn it into silage. If I was to try to turn this into hay, I'd have to have 4 or 5 days of sun. I'd probably have to ted it. It would take a long time for this thick-stemmed tall grass that's so thick for it to dry enough to be able to bale it up as hay. So I've got all the bales staged over there, bale wrappers set up. So now we'll go ahead and see if we can get these small diameter bales to wrap. These are smaller than anything I've ran through this before, so let's have to see how it goes. Come on. There she goes. So I got all the bales wrapped up now, and this silage experiment really isn't complete until we open these up and try to feed them. And that'll probably be a few months down the road till we see the final results. But today was definitely a learning day. I learned quite a bit. I learned to slow way down because there's just so much forage. I think I ended up going in like low 3. I mean, I dropped like 2 more gears after I plugged it up, and that seemed to be about the right speed. And I also learned that a 3-foot diameter bale does not want to fall out of a baler unless you have to coax it somehow, right? 3.5 barely wanted to fall out. And the 3.5 was also heavy enough. I got up on 3 wheels on the 2515 tractor a couple times. That's a pretty good load for it. It's got weighted tires. I had the brush hog on the back. So if I do a bigger diameter, go all the way up to 4 foot, I will definitely have to add more weight, like the ballast box, something to the back of that tractor. But I think I learned quite a bit, and now I need to decide whether I want to continue to try to make more silage bales out of the sorghum Sudan that we have planted, or whether I mow it down and plow it into the ground and just add that organic matter back into the soil, because we do need to plant that area in perennial pasture grass here in the next 2 weeks. So I've got to try to decide what I want to do. So like I said, today's a learning day for me, and this is the way I like to learn. I just like to try new things. I like to get out there and just try to do it and learn as I go. And things don't turn out perfect. There's mistakes that happen, but you learn from those mistakes. And I think sometimes I learn faster that way. And this is definitely a learning day. And if I end up doing some more silage here over the next week or so, I think it'll go a lot smoother this next time. But I think that's going to be it for today, guys. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.